Shalom to you from oneforisrael.org. This week's portion is the last one in the yearly cycle as it covers the final two chapters of the book of Deuteronomy, chapters 33 and 34. It is also the smallest section of all, at least according to the number of Hebrew words. It includes Moses' final blessings and then his own death. We've come a long way since the creation of the world in Genesis 1:1. Sin entered and caused a separation between humanity and God. As part of God's ultimate plan, he made a covenant with Abraham. As we saw, this covenant includes the land, and throughout our journey, in the last year we followed the journeys of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and then 40 years with Moses. The land promise included consequences for disobedience. This was explained in various passages, for example, Deuteronomy chapter 4. Yet, even when the consequences will result in exile, God promised to bring his people back to the land, as we saw in Leviticus 26, beginning in verse 44. These promises are important to remember as we read the final speech of Moses and his blessings for the next generation. In the same way, the Abrahamic covenant also promised that Abraham and his descendants would not only be a great nation, but that they would bless the whole world. We've seen this throughout our study in the last year as well. Specifically, one special descendant will come from the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the one who would crush the head of the serpent, as we saw in Genesis 3:15, and he would be a prophet greater than Moses, as we read in Deuteronomy 18:15. Indeed, the entire gospel is foreshadowed in the Torah. In this final passage, Moses is speaking to the generation that will inherit the land. After listing the blessings for each tribe, Moses went to Moab, to the top of Mount Nebo near Jericho. God shows all the land to Moses, but again he reiterates that Moses himself would not be allowed to enter. This goes back to Numbers chapter 20, verse 12, where Moses rebelled against God. Nevertheless, he died at the ripe old age of 120. Moses was not a perfect man, but he was a man of faith, whom God used in amazing ways. The eulogy that appears in this week's portion, found in Deuteronomy 34, verses 10 and 11, says the following: "And there has not arisen a prophet since in Israel, like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, none like him for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants, and to all his land, and for all the mighty power and all the great deeds of terror that Moses did in the sight of all Israel." Joshua then became the new divinely appointed leader. As the story continues, Joshua will lead the children of Israel into the land, where there will be a new set of challenges. Throughout history, as today, challenges often come from the outside, meaning hostile neighbors. On the other hand, there are also challenges from within. Whether in the days of the judges, where everyone did what was right in their own eyes, or the split between the northern and southern kingdoms, the internal challenges were great. What was needed was a prophet like Moses, or rather, one greater than Moses, to provide a new exodus. Not just a physical one, but a spiritual one. The great Jewish prophets spoke of just such a future. Jeremiah even spoke of a new covenant in chapter 31 of his book. Indeed, the Torah, which we have just completed, and the entire writings of the Hebrew Scriptures point ahead to a prophet like Moses, yet one greater still. The author of Hebrews wrote the following in chapter 3, verse 3, "For Jesus has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses, as much more glory as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself." We have now finished our study of the Torah, but not really. We have barely scratched the surface. Each weekly portion has much more than we could possibly cover in a few minutes, and even what we did cover was but an introduction. If you missed any along the way, please check the website for all of the 5 Alive lessons. For all of us here at oneforisrael.org, we wish you a great new year, and we encourage you to continue your study yourself. The story is not yet over. And by the way, don't forget to share. Shalom.
Our ministry, One for Israel, is an initiative of native-born Israelis on the forefront of media and high-tech evangelism, boldly proclaiming salvation to Israel. Raising up leaders and equipping them with the tools they need to transform our communities. We also provide humanitarian aid to Holocaust survivors with the love of Yeshua. Join us as we share the gospel in Israel. Become One for Israel.